Okay, last Sunday, October 1st at 10:05 p.m., a piece of human garbage by the name of Stephen Paddock opened fire on a crowd of 22,000 people who were simply attending a country music concert. Weapons that he had converted into full auto. You're not going to get a lot of funny one out of this one, guys. Our sympathies go out to the 58 people he killed. So far, the injuries are somewhere around 529. It is really just a completely jacked up situation. What we know now, 10:05, James opened fire on the crowd. Around 10:18, a security guard had reported that he was outside the room that they believed the gunfire was coming from. POS inside shot the security guard through the door. We thinking shortly after that, because there wasn't much gunfire after that, he took his own life with a revolver that he had. Too bad that wasn't the first trigger he pulled. Would have saved a lot of lives going in that way. What we have here is a tragedy. And my heart goes out to the victims families. This is a colossal tragedy. And we now have the biggest, mass shooting in the history of America, apparently. That's the title that POS was going for. Well, there you go. You got it. We don't have any motive. So far, no suicide note that we found, no mantra, no mission statements. We know that there were video cameras that he had placed outside of his room. I don't know if there were any video cameras inside the room or if they recorded anything or were even on. The things that we know so far is that he had been in that hotel room for 3 days with the Do Not Disturb sign on it. Believe that there were 23 guns that were found inside that hotel room, which he managed to get up there over the course of that 3 days. It appears that the guns that he opened fire on the crowd with were a AK-47 and a AR-15 type rifle that shot a beefier round, the .308 round. He had both of these guns apparently were modified with what is called bump stocks, which uses the recoil from the bullet to pull you keep your finger on the trigger, and you're basically using the recoil of the bullet to fire the next round, in effectively turning a semi-automatic into a fully automatic weapon. I've been a lifelong supporter of the NRA. I don't want fully automatic weapons. The NRA doesn't want anybody on fully automatic weapons. I support, this is before I found out the NRA was on this side of it too, outlawing bump stocks. If we can do that, sounds pretty good to me. What we do know is that he had a girlfriend. She was listed as a person of interest, but she is completely and utterly cooperating with authorities. She was out of the country when this happened, and she flew back like a day after. It was as quick as she could. She was in the Philippines, so that is a long flight. So I give her credit for that. She apparently is doing everything she can and cooperating with authorities. The authorities are no longer listing her as a person of interest, and she's cooperating with them as much as she can. Her statement was, a little more than 2 weeks ago, Stephen told me that he found a cheap ticket for me to the Philippines, and he wanted me to take a trip home to see my family. Like all Filipinos abroad, I was excited to go home and see my family and friends. While there, he wired me money, which he said was for me to buy a house for me and my family. I was grateful, but honestly, I was worried at first. Unexpected trip home, then the money was a way of breaking up with me. It never occurred in any way whatsoever that he was planning the violence against anyone. I'm thinking that if she had collaborated with him in any way, shape, or form, she would not have come back to the U.S. She doesn't know a motive. If anybody's seen the footage of the interview they did with his brother, he doesn't know the motive. He was dumbfounded. How do you explain this? We don't have any motive. It doesn't appear that he left a suicide note. There were video cameras outside and inside the room, apparently. We don't know if they were on. Now, law enforcement might have that stuff, but at this point, they're not making that public. So hopefully we can get some sort of an answer. It'd be nice, especially for the families. This has been the Militant Moderate Podcast. I've been your host, Paul Michael Bolin. Please click like and subscribe because that always gives us a hand. It always gives us a help.